critique couldn't come, so I came instead. You have called, and I have answered. You sought the Harbinger of Doom. I'm he, little sorcerer. I am your doom. I am Skarbrand! I am your death!
Bruh.
Skarbrand, known as the Exiled One, the Wrathful Reaper, or the Drinker of Blood, was once the greatest of all Khorne's demons. Thousands of mortal lifetimes of battle in the Blood God's name has brought Skarbrand victories uncounted. It was he who tore down the gates of Slaaneash's first palace and visited ruin therein. It was he also who led the 8 hosts of murder to their triumph over the combined armies of the other Chaos Gods. In all the endless years of Khorne's existence, no other has piled so many skulls before the Skull Throne, or spilled the blood of so many warriors and innocents alike. Thus did Skarbrand enjoy Khorne's favour like no other, an honour which would eventually lead to his downfall from the good graces of the Blood God. Ever since his exile, in all of history there have been none to serve the Lord of Skulls as completely as Skarbrand once did. He has taken mountains and mountains of skulls for the Blood God, and filled vast oceans with gore. He has shaken the foundations of eternity in his wrath, and left a trail of slaughter across existence. Yet still Khorne refuses to rescind his hated decree. There is little regret in the Blood God's black heart, and he spares none for Skarbrand, who in tortured exile serves the Lord of Skulls more completely than ever.
I will rip the bones from your body and leave your skin to rot. But your skull I will give to the Skull God, and it will be among the multitude.
Alas, no being could enjoy such triumphs forever. And unfortunately, so proud was Skarbrand that it was a simple task for Tzeentch to fan the embers of his hubris. One dark day, when Khorne's back was turned, and his attention elsewhere, Skarbrand's fierce pride grew hot, and blinded by rage, he smote the Blood God a mighty blow. Powerful beyond measure was Skarbrand, and he had toppled cities with but one blow apiece. But even he could not pierce Khorne's brazen armor. Only the smallest of chinks was cut in the Blood God's armor, but even this was sufficient to draw the terrible fury of Khorne's gaze. Incandescent with wrath, Khorne seized the demon by the throat. The Blood God cursed Skarbrand's name and choked all personality from him, leaving only the bottomless rage that had caused him to attack, robbed of its persona. Climbing the uppermost tower of the brass citadel, Khorne cast forth his arm and hurled the demon deep into the realm of chaos, banishing the bloodthirster from his presence. For 8 days and nights, Skarbrand plummeted, a fiery comet of ill omen streaking across the unchanging sky. The impact of the bloodthirster's landing gouged a canyon in the landscape and left his wings tattered and torn. Since that fateful day, Skarbrand has wandered the mortal and immortal realms, drowning his sins in the blood of the slain, though he no longer has the wit to fully understand why. Frozen in the moment of that rage-spurred betrayal, Skarbrand has become wrath incarnate, a restless fury that cannot be stopped. Wherever Skarbrand treads, order and discipline are replaced with anarchy, as those in his path drown in feelings of empty loathing and unrestrained savagery. Even the most rational of beings cannot resist the corruption of Skarbrand's madness. Fast friends and firm allies tear at one another with wild abandon. Craven and brave beings alike claw at their foes without regard for their own lives. Through this anarchy, Skarbrand runs rampant, twin axes hacking and cleaving until there is no one left to kill. His tortured roars echo around the battlefield, waves of pure rage infused with enough force to shatter buildings and pulverize flesh. From then on, Skarbrand became nothing more than a vessel, filled with unreasoning hatred and rage, empty of any thoughts or personality of what was once Khorne's greatest chosen.
No, you shall not escape me so easily. You will burn, mage rat, and then you will scream and scream until you die.
It is not known whether Skarbrand was still in the good grace of Khorne when he descended upon the mortal plane to ravage the dwarf hold of Karak. What was certain was that, by the foolish efforts of Grey Seer Thanquol, who in his attempt to summon forth the infamous vermin lord Vecteek to the mortal plane made a grave mistake, he was summoned in the place of this vermin lord, a legendary bloodthirster, Skarbrand. What the foolish Grey Seer failed to realize was that the magical artifact known as the Hand of Vecteek, which he tried to use in his summon ritual, contained a hidden mark of Khorne upon its palm, a mark carved by its previous owner, Grey Seer Thratsnik, as an act of vengeance against the Under-Empire that had abandoned him to his fate of lonely isolation and eventual starvation many decades ago. Freed upon the mortal plane, Skarbrand wrought a terrible carnage amongst the battlefield, where dwarfs and Skaven alike fought each other and their allies in gruesome displays of mad rage and uncontrollable bloodshed due to the unnatural demonic presence of the bloodthirster. It was only thanks to the efforts of Master Engineer Karak Bronzehammer, who set off a demolition charge which saw a massive axe of Valia fall down and sink its blade through the flesh of the bloodthirster's head, did the dwarf hold survive the demonic onslaught. Thanquol, having had enough of risking his life for the ambitions of others, fled the battlefield right after he blasted the Master Engineer with a wave of warp lightning and saw his body fall from the statue of Valia upon that rocky hard floor many stories below. Before Skarbrand was sent back to the realm of chaos, he whispered to Thanquol that should he have need of him again, he would be waiting. Karanak, known as the Hound of Vengeance, the Endless Hunter, and the Talon of the Skull Throne, is the three-headed flesh hound that prowls and guards Khorne's grand throne room. He never sleeps, for like the blood god's unreasoning vengeance, Karanak is ever watchful. He searches every shadow for intruders and interlopers, or else gnaws on bones discarded from the skull throne, or stalks bloodletters and furies through the vaulted hall. Should Karanak sight suitable prey, he pounces without mercy. Not for him the lingering death delivered by Slaaneshi demons. Karanak's kills are quicksilver perfection. The better to swiftly feed his hunger and his master's need for spilt blood, without having to empower his hated rival. As the physical manifestation of Khorne's vengeance, Karanak is Khorne's chosen hunter, the demon the blood god unleashes to search out those who have transgressed his creed, or have offered insult into his colossal pride. It is a choice well made, for Karanak is ruthless and implacable, able to follow the blood scent of a quarry across all of space and time in service to his vengeful master. The hunt begins as Karanak's three snouts taste the air for such a trace of his prey. He passes to and fro, pacing, growling and snarling as each head in turn savours a portion of the scent. Each can track Karanak's quarry in a different fashion. The first head can follow the trail through space and can track the victim over plain, forest, mountain, and other environments too bizarre to describe. The second can follow the scent through time, back to the past, into the very creation of everything that is, or forward to the end of the universe. The final head tracks the quarry through its own thoughts, pursuing through dreamscapes and illusions. Of the three heads, it is the last that is the most dangerous, for the first two can be fooled by those with wit to do so, but only the insane can run beyond the trace of their own mind. With the odour of his victim thick in his nostrils, Karanak begins to run, slowly at first, then faster as the prey grows closer and the blood scent grows stronger. As leagues untold fall away beneath his clawed feet, Karanak's bestial howls echo through the void, drawing other flesh hounds to his presence, all eager for the feast. The bestial chorus of Karanak's hunt has long since become known as the harbinger of dire fates, not only in the realm of chaos, but in the kingdoms of the Empire and Bretonnia, and 1,000 others besides. When mortal men hear that howl, they lock their doors, bar their gates, and pray that this evil fate is meant for another. By the time Karanak reaches his prey, 10 score or more flesh hounds follow the trail alongside him, each driven to snarling madness by the glory of the hunt. None can stand against such maddened ferocity. Within moments of arrival, Karanak roars his victory and departs once more, the tattered corpse of his victim clasped tight between his jaws. The skull of the quarry goes to Khorne as token of his will obeyed. The remainder of the corpse, the blood, flesh, and bone alike, is Karanak's to nest amongst and feast upon. For days afterwards the sound of breaking bones echoes about the skull throne as the three-headed hound devours the last of his luckless prize. In 2460 IC, Ricard Dralborg, aspirant wizard of the Gold Order, summoned the demon hound to eliminate his rivals. Alas for Dralberg, his enchantments could not cage Karanak, and the Gold Wizard was the first to feel the beast's jaws. Sustained by the stray energies within the Gold College, Karanak hunted freely and slaughtered all of the wizards within its walls. Azul, better known as the Skulltaker, Khorne's champion, the blooded wanderer, the slayer of kings, and as Rakas during his mortal life, is a mighty demon prince of Khorne who takes the form of a hulking bloodletter. Rakas was once a mighty Kurgan warlord and Tsar of the Dolgan tribe. Forging disparate warbands into a mighty army, he led them into battle against the forces of the Tong. 100 warlords fell to the Dolgan's axe, but with each victory the warriors of the defeated chieftains swore fealty to Rakas, and his army swelled. Rakas then led his army to the Tong's homeland and slaughtered all in its path. It was during the last and greatest battle that he finally met a worthy foe, for Teogate Khan was the mightiest Tong warlord to have ever lived. Wielding the demon sword Blood Eater, Khan was able to best Rakas with his superior weapon. The Kurgan warlord was captured and pitted atop a spike, and days went by as his body was slowly and painfully impaled, whilst any other warrior would have begged for death. Rakas was consumed by hatred. Khan had denied him a warrior's death, and so with great strength he pulled himself from the spike and crawled across the wastes, his entrails flowing behind. Rakas soon came across a great forge. It was here that Teogate Khan had forged the mighty demon sword that he had used to best the Kurgan Tsar. as Rakas approached, dying, a voice called out to him from the forge itself. A mighty bloodthirster's soul had been enslaved to power the forge. Defeated and destroyed long ago by Khorne, the demon had guided Rakas to him as an instrument of vengeance. He empowered the dying Kurgan with the forge's might, gifting him near impenetrable armor, regeneration, and a sword as black as midnight. Thus, Rakas was reborn as the Skulltaker. Over the coming years, the name the Skulltaker was made legend. A tireless chaos champion of Khorne, who challenged and slew any warlord he encountered, offering their skulls to the blood god. Tales abounded of how he had killed the chaos dragon Shanith, and placed its bleeding heads at the foot of the skull throne. How he rode against the ogres of the Marrow Chewer, and alone scoured them from the land. How he dared face the sin stealer of the decadent Ulvags, and vanquished the demon from the realm of mortals for 1,000 years. How he visited destruction upon the blasphemous and degenerate city of Po, and left not one of Lashor's children alive within its accursed walls. Eventually the Skulltaker ventured into the lands of the Tong and their subjugated allies. None could stand against him, not even the craftiest Hung, the strongest Kurgan, or the most monstrous Gore. All who did battle with him were cut down, their bodies left heaped in great carrion mounds to rot. No tribe or nation had been able to defy the armies of Teogatai, but the Skulltaker cut a path through them as though they were feeble children. Eventually, the great Teogatai rode forth to personally deal with this threat. Facing Teogatai Khan in his mighty kingdom, the Skulltaker became engaged in a duel of epic proportions. The two champions clashed with Demon Blade and fought for days. Eventually the Skulltaker was able to mortally wound his enemy, but not before Teogatai drove Bloodstealer into his stomach. Vengeance should have been fulfilled, and the Skulltaker should have died that day, but he could only be banished, not destroyed. Such was Khorne's blessing on the vengeful warrior. The Skulltaker would return hundreds of years later to destroy the Tong's homeland. Slaughtering each of Teogatai's successors, he offered their skulls to his ancient forge, and thus destroyed their entire realm, drawing it into the lands of Khorne, and erasing it from the existence of the mortal world. The Skulltaker was rewarded for this with ascension to demonhood, taking on a form resembling a mighty bloodletter, and wearing a cloak of skulls. The man once known as Rakas had become one of Khorne's mightiest followers. When not campaigning with his master's armies, Skulltaker roams the realm of chaos, atop his mighty juggernaut, Khorne. He appears before fortress and stronghold, bellowing challenge after challenge to the greatest warriors from within, until one of their number is foolish enough to meet him in single combat. When a foe emerges, Skulltaker dismounts from his loyal steed, salutes the enemy with an upturned blade, and charges forward to claim another skull in the blood god's name. Such duels are brief and bloody, for Skulltaker is swifter than the last beat of a shattered heart, and knows every weakness of every enemy. Skulltaker does not slay his foes outright, but shatters their limbs, leaving them helpless. Skulltaker's clawed grasp settles upon his fallen opponent's head, magical fire gouting from his fingertips, searing away skin and sinew until pale bone is laid bare for all to see. With a single perfect twist born of long practice, Skulltaker breaks the naked skull free of its spine and tosses it into a coarse woven sack filled with trophies from previous victims. He then bellows his challenges at the fortress once more, striking down any further champions that emerge until no others present themselves or boredom sets in. Mounting Khorne once more, Skulltaker departs in search of fresh foes. Azul is just as feared in the mortal realms as he is on the courts of the dark gods. He is drawn by tales of martial prowess and rumour of mighty combatants who might offer some small challenge to him. History is littered with accounts of his appearance before the gates of Bretonnian castles, ogre feast halls, elf mansions, Necaran necropolises, and dwarf holds, each time demanding that an accomplished warrior be sent forth to face him. Such encounters never end well for his mortals. Indeed, in all the legends surrounding the Skulltaker, there is but one account that tells of anything other than his victory. In the legends of the Empire, he battles Sigmar in the World's Edge Mountains for 3 days without pause, but ultimately earns naught for his defeat. Skulltaker still bears the scar that he earned that day, and he takes great pleasure in repaying the debt on Sigmar's inheritors at every opportunity. Demons have long memories and little desire to grant forgiveness. Over the millennia, the Skulltaker's collection of trophies has become so massive as to be beyond counting. Whilst Azul collects skulls from all his victims, it is only those of mighty individuals he truly cherishes, for with the taking of the skull he inherits a portion of the enemy's strength. He hooks his most prized skulls, mementos of close fought and satisfactory battles, all under his cloak. The others he sets upon the parapet of Khorne's brass citadel to watch the approaches to the blood god's lair. So it is that a demon that began existence as a bloodletter has become something to command the respect of the dark gods themselves.